Hi, Black from Footballbiz at Karuke, and today we're comparing two of the latest control boots on the market, the new adidas'Ace 15.1 versus the Magista Opus by Nike Football. The Ace 15 by Adidas was recently launched and replaced the Predator Instinct, while the new Magista Opus was first launched in March 2014, along with the Magista Obra, which we have here today as well. Let's get straight into it and talk about the design. This is the Ace, and just looking at it, it's got a really classic design. Adidas 3 stripes on both sides of the boot, rolls under onto the sole. Really classic design. I'm a big fan. Magista Opus, again, I'm a big fan of the design. Nike swoosh logos on both sides of the boot, and you got this webbing pattern on the forefoot and on the midfoot. Magista logo on the heel, another classic colorway by Nike. Same with Magista Obra. It's got a really classic colorway, big swoosh logos on both sides of the boot. Alright, let's get into the tech specs of these boots. The Ace 15 features a total skin and control web upper. As you can see, it features a control web across the entire forefoot and onto the midfoot. And it's very thin and very soft in hand. Magista Opus, it's a very similar Kangalite and Nike skin upper. It's the same sort of meshing pattern. This is the reason why we're comparing these two boots, because of this webbing pattern. It's just so similar on both of these boots. So I've just brought it closer. Both feature a webbing pattern, you can see that, and both feature a sort of thin mesh material under the webbing pattern. And they're both about the same softness. Added on top of the total skin is the NSG technology, which in a sense was inspired by Nike's all conditions control technology, but Adidas is certainly not going to claim that. So it's on the Ace, it's sort of these raised dots you can see on top of the webbing control web, just to aid control in wet conditions. The same principle for the Opus. It's got an all conditions control coating, which helps for a consistent touch in both wet and dry conditions. So both NSG and both ACC are designed for exactly the same thing. The soles of the boot. Now, total control is what this sole is called for the Ace. It's just an array of conical studs from heel to toe. So many studs and grooves. It's designed to be used on both firm ground and artificial ground surfaces. A major benefit to the new Ace. Looking at the Magista Opus, it has a nylon chassis. A lot of Nike boots feature a nylon chassis and conical studs again. So they both feature conical studs, and they're both really designed to pivot well and turn really well. So it's designed for the playmaker, the Jack Wilshere who just wants to pivot and turn. Right, on the Ace, it has an external heel counter. I don't know if you can see in the sole yellow, the bright sole yellow color, but it has an external heel counter. Really solid, really rigid external heel counter. It's actually called the heel stabilizer, and it's very reminiscent of something like the Predator Mania. It's going to provide a really good lockdown of your heel into the shoe. Whereas the Opus has a similar external heel counter, emerges with the nylon chassis sole plate, and it's not as robust, but it's going to do the same job. Both heel counters are exactly the same, essentially. Does the same job. In terms of weight, I've just got one in each hand, and the Opus feels lighter, but it is a smaller size. But considering the Ace has such an aggressive sole, it's going to be the heavier boot of the two. But really, there's not much in it. They're both around that mid 200 gram mark. It's a decent weight for both of these boots. Off-center lacing is something which is both featured in these boots, but in different ways. So the Ace has an off-center lacing system, a minor one, towards the lateral side, so you're going to have a larger striking region, whereas the Opus is an off-center lacing system towards the instep, so you're going to have a larger control region. So that's a little difference. It's not going to impact a lot, but it just means it's going to be a lot better for control on the Opus over the Ace. But the Ace is designed for that, really, like the Steven Gerrard, the Mesut Ozil, the player that can create and the player that can actually score goals as well. Alright, in terms of fit, this is an important part for both of these boots. Both good for wide-footed players, that's all I can say. The Ace is designed with a wider last and it's going to fit any foot type. That's a massive benefit from the Predator Instinct, which had a really tight toe box. The Magista Opus does the same job, really wide. It's going to be great for wide-footed players. Alright, as you may have heard, the Ace 15 is designed for the playmaker, the player that wants to control the game. Adidas have now only 2 boots, so this is the Ace, the control boot, and the X, which is a speed boot designed for the striker, the winger. But expect the likes of Ivan Rakitic, James Rodriguez, Manuel Neuer, Mesut Ozil, and Iker Casillas to wear this boot in the coming weeks. So essentially all the Adipure 11 Pro, Nitro Charge and Predator wearers have switched to the Ace. So you're going to see a lot of players wearing the Ace. Whereas the Magista Opus is not worn as much as the Ace by players. You expect the likes of Iniesta, Henderson, Courtois, Mascherano and John Terry to wear the Magista Opus. Both low-cut designs. The reason why a lot of players prefer the Opus over the Obra is because the dynamic fit collar is just too new, and it just provides a lockdown which isn't needed, you know. The low-cut design is preferred by more professionals, so the Opus is the more popular Magistas boot of the two. Yeah, so all positions, it's designed for most positions. Your goalkeepers, defenders, centre midfielders, essentially is what the Ace is for. Whereas the Opus, essentially the same. You're going to see a lot of goalkeepers, a lot of defenders and a lot of centre midfielders wear this boot. So yeah, very similar boots. Both designed for the same thing. Similar weights, similar uppers, very similar uppers. I think that's the closest similarity is just the mesh and control web on the Ace and the webbing pattern and Kanga light on the Opus. It's just so similar. It's just so similar, and I'm actually surprised how they're so similar, you know. They're actually 2 really similar boots on the market. Everything else, you got the sole is probably the biggest difference between the 2 boots. One's designed for both firm ground and artificial ground surfaces, the Ace, and this one's just for firm grounds, so that is a big benefit to the Ace. I would recommend both boots. It really comes down to personal preference, whether you like Adidas or Nike. I'm a big Nike fan and I'd probably wear the Opus, but just looking at the Ace, the design of it is really classic and I'm a big fan of it, and I can actually wear this on firm ground and artificial grounds. So if I had to choose one of the 2, I'd probably just go for the Ace, based on design and complete performance factors, and that's what I'd go for. But essentially the Opus is another great boot by Nike Football, and the Obra is always available if you want to spend a lot of money on a boot which necessarily isn't going to fit you as good as something like the Opus. So yeah, that's our comparison of the arguably the 2 most popular control boots on the market, the Ace and the Opus, as well as the Obra. So thanks for watching. We've got a lot of other comparisons on our YouTube channel. We recently did the X 15.1 versus the F50 Adidas'Ace, so please check that out. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.